Hey, it's Clay at claytrader.com. This will be my top 10 stocks as we head into Wednesday, April 13th. This will be a technical analysis breakdown. So if you're somebody that uses charts within your trading, or maybe you're just interested in learning more about charts and how they can be used to help make good decisions as a trader, this will be a video for you. Real quick, want to first personally invite you to get signed up for this free live online class that I'm offering here in a couple of weeks. So if you're liking what you see as I go through the video and you want to learn more about this tool, how it should be used, and why it's just so powerful in terms of building consistency as traders, then certainly get signed up for the free class. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a link down in the description box. If you're watching at my site, there's an area right there on the webpage that you can click to get signed up. So definitely, like I said, if you like what you see, get signed up for that free class. Real quick, a couple of clarification points before I get to each stock. First off, this number over here will still be moving. The candlestick hill will still be moving. The market's open for a little bit of time. I like to do these videos when the market is still open because sometimes we can capture some really interesting late day action. But the levels that I do talk about, because the market is close enough to being done, where it'll still totally be relevant for Wednesday. But stock number one here, VERU, big, huge mover on Monday and mapped out this pattern right here. And you can see that this morning, started off with a slight gap up, basically right at that trend line, made a slight move to the upside, and then just completely the false breakdown right there. So a brutal move there and a good little example of why stop losses and risk management is so important, because that was definitely a nasty fake breakdown, which breakout, before it broke out and then completely fell apart. But the first update here that needs to be done comes about based on a foundational rule in charting, which states when levels of support are broken and closed below, they tend to act as resistance. So if there is any sort of attempted bounce back up in the upwards direction, then right here around 11-12, this general area right here, because I say general area because you can see there's this convergence of these areas of resistance. So right here around 11 to 12 is going to be a very key level where if this thing is going to go on another nice move, then that's certainly going to be the step one in terms of regaining some momentum. And if you have, depending on how much your experience you've seen, then I'm sure you've had things where you see them go up, and then it seems like day number two, party's over, maybe even day number three, things consolidate out, and then all of a sudden things just come back to life. Of course, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen here because there are no guarantees. But my point here is that even with the fake breakout this morning, that doesn't mean that the party's totally over. But like I said, step number one in terms of leading indicators that maybe another move is coming is, can the price break up above this $11, $12 range? So keep an eye on that. Next one, PTE, and I like this one just because there's a very well-defined breakout area, and when there's well-defined levels, call it a self-fulfilling prophecy, call it whatever you want, it can certainly produce some very dynamic movements. And the level here that I think a lot of people will be watching, right up there at 45 cents. So that's not some sort of great discovery on my part. I'm not trying to imply that that's some sort of great discovery. That's a level that a lot of people are watching. So again, self-fulfilling prophecy, whatever you want to call it, more than valid to think that if the price can recover back up to 45 and then get the break up through it, that break in of itself could very well create quite a bit of an upwards buying amount. So keep an eye on 45 cents as far as breakouts are concerned. If you prefer to more so play pullbacks, then an interesting pullback area right down here around that 35 cent mark. Or if you want to be really greedy and want an extra special pullback, you could wait and see if the price goes down to 27 cents. But again, the risk there comes in the form of you may never even get a trade because that just never happens. But like I said, that's all a matter of strategy and personal risk tolerance. But these are going to be the main levels that I think are going to be watched by the majority of people. Next one, AMC, and a rough day on this one as it just proved that Monday's late day surge right there just turned out to be simply a dead cat bounce as the price completely rolled back over and gave back all those gains and then some. So I'm going to go do a little house cleaning there, get rid of that line, and make the first update, which comes about, as I've said already, when levels of support are broken and closed below, they tend to act as resistance. So if there is any sort of initial bounce to the upside, resistance number one now going to be right there at $18, and then resistance number two, which could probably be argued is going to be the most significant one, but right there, that purple line, the 50-period moving average, and you can see right there the power of charts. Price gapped up, got right around that area, and then back down it went. So 18 and then the 50-period moving average going to be those main levels of resistance. As far as supports are concerned, nothing fancy or complicated here. Literally just a question of, well, where did the bleeding finally stop today? And it did finally stop right down there at $17.20. So that'll be the main area of support for that reason and that reason alone. But overall, yeah, the bearish trend continues. Next, SOFI, and a very rough day for this one. Not necessarily because it was red, but because the price actually broke down below what I thought would have been a little bit better of a trend line, put up more of a fight, and I suppose maybe it is still putting up a fight somewhat, But again, let me change this to green because this was an area of support headed into today right there. And you can see that had been a nice trend line that I thought was maybe the bottom part of a pattern forming, but now you can see that the price has broken below it, which brings about, the key question in my mind, because to be fair, it's not like the price broke below that trend line and then everything collapsed or anything like that, but it is definitely a threat of potentially getting that much worse. So in my mind, is this a true break? Well, that's where the main question is going to come about, and it's not, very difficult to answer. That just observe, and if the price continues to separate further and further away from that trend line, well, that just signifies that not only is it a genuine breakdown of that trend line, but the bears are just gaining that much more strength. So you're going to want to keep a close eye on that dynamic in terms of, what does the price do? Generally speaking, right around the $7.50 mark. Now, if the price does, get back to the upside, well, then like AMC, that main area of resistance, which played out here, is once again that purple line, which currently valid at, we'll call it $7.80. But like I said, in my mind, the most interesting dynamic is going to be what happens in regards to that support trend line right there. Next one, AMD, and the downtrend continues. AMD is such a popular, such a almost strong stock. It's crazy to see this downwards move just continue and continue, but once again today, things have broken to the downside. So I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of these lines right there as I serve their purpose, and I'm actually just going to drag this level down to what would now be considered the newest area of resistance in the near term, and that sits right there at the $96 mark. So this should sound familiar, but yeah, a lot of these stocks have the same genuine patterns where you have the initial level of resistance, in this case 96, and then you have the overarching level of resistance, which again is that purple line right there, the 50-period moving average. And to squeeze things down just so you can see, how that 50 period has behaved. I mean, ever since the price broke down below it right there, there's been, several instances where the price never hit it exactly, but it certainly got within the general territory of it and has not been able to quite push through it. So my point here is that even if the price does break above 96, don't get me wrong, that's a great step in the right direction. But I wouldn't get too excited about things until the price can, bare minimum, get above and stay above that purple line right there. So keep a close eye on that from more so, again, the general point of view. Next one, LIXT, and wow, is this one ugly looking chart. But for those of you longtime viewers, you know what I'm going to say next. But there can be opportunity in ugly. But fair warning, these are setups for people that can actually honor stop losses, right? That are not going to turn into hold and hope or anything like that. So if you're an undisciplined trader or you don't even know what a stop loss is, well, I mean, you shouldn't even be trading in the first place, but that's a whole nother topic. Point here being is, yes, this is a high risk play, but when you do these things the right way from a trade plan construction point of view, you can really give yourself a nice risk versus reward. So, I mean, if you like to try to play these pullbacks where it seems like it's game over, it seems like it can't really get any worse, the level here that really stands out to me, right down there around that $1.50 mark. Again, does that mean that for sure guaranteed it's going to hit $1.50 and then bounce? No, of course not. No guarantees. But is that a plausible place? Is that a logical thought process to have? In my mind, it absolutely is. So keep an eye on $1.50 if you like to play, like I said, these very, very ugly setups. But sometimes really ugly setups, the uglier it gets, then all of a sudden things can just turn around just like that. So if you like to play those, like I said, I'm not sure if there's any other uglier charts out there than this one, but this one's got to be at least in top 5 for the day. Next one, AGRX. Don't mean to state the obvious, but just to set up the general context here. Very clearly, nice move here. Good, strong move. Now the price is pulling back. So this all starts with, okay, was today's movement genuinely strong? Is this the start of something bigger? Or is this just some sort of one-day wonder, where it pops and then goes right back to where it was? And I have no idea. But by using charts, we can make answering that question very straightforward. And in my mind, it all revolves around 16 cents. Because operating under the premise that truly strong moves make progress, then that's what's going to help us out. Now, of course, you're going to say, well, okay, Clay, but make progress. Those are just words. What does that even mean? Well, that's why charts are powerful, because they allow you to take words and then assign numerical values to them. So in this situation, yes, 16 cents is my definition of make progress, because if the price comes down here, bounces around, and then heads back up, what would you still have in this situation? Well, you'd have a set of lows there. You'd have lows there if you envision each of those as stair steps. Well, there you go. Now you have stair steps making progress in the upwards direction. Whereas on the flip side, and again, I'm not saying this will occur, but for explanation's sake, if the price comes down here and then breaks down below it, now what do you have? Well, you have the price quite literally right back to where it started. And not to insult your intelligence, but price movements that go back to where they were, not exactly a sign of genuine strength. So is this the start of something bigger? Is there genuine power behind this movement? Let's see if the price can show some signs of progress, being defined as staying above at minimum 16 cents. Next one, HSTO, and there's nothing fancy behind this other than the fact of it's a penny stock, and I know lots of people like to play stocks down below $1. And the last portion of the day, huge volume spike, very nice volume, or excuse me, very nice price movement, which brings about the question of, is this the start of something much, much bigger? And that's the whole idea of a watch list, right? You identify unique situations, you identify situations that are intriguing, and then you watch them and decide if you want to put together a trade plan around them. So, I mean, is this the start of something bigger? It very well could be. But think about think about what's required to be able to ask that question. Well, something unique needs to happen in the first place. Unfortunately, for a lot of stocks, nothing ever happened, so it makes no sense to even say, hey, is this the start of something bigger? Because there is no something in the first place. But that has happened here. To be fair, it's a two-sided coin, so maybe it's not. Maybe this thing just drifts back to oblivion. But again, a two-sided coin, because maybe it is the start of something bigger. Maybe the price does continue to rock and roll to the upside, which again is the whole idea behind a watch list. Find unique situations and then watch them. So if you like to play penny stocks, then this is definitely one that seems, in my mind, to be worthy of watching on Wednesday. Next one, ATNM, and I really like the pattern on this one. As I mentioned earlier, I'm not trying to impress anybody. I'm not trying to imply that this is some sort of great skill that I have. I think a lot of people have drawn these lines here. So we have the resistance level right there. We have the support level right there, and just because, let's make it nice and proportional. There we go. So let me also change this to green to represent more so the bullish area of the pattern. But what we have here is a nice wedge pattern, symmetrical triangle, whatever you want to call it. But I think there's people around the world that have drawn these trend lines and are now wondering the question, who's ultimately going to win out? Dare I say they're going to watch to see which way it breaks out. And again, no guarantees, but is it valid to think that if the price breaks to the upside, that could create some upside buying pressure? Yes. Is it valid to think that if this thing fails to the downside, that could create some downside selling pressure? So maybe some short-sided traders are interested right there. Yeah, both of those are valid. It's just all about who is ultimately going to win out. But if you like well-defined patterns that you got to think a lot of people around the world are watching, if you like to try to play those self-fulfilling prophecies and you like to play stocks down below $10, I would definitely say this one's worth watching. Next one here, TSLA Tesla. I like to trade this one every day. Traded it today. Pretty blah day for me, but that's besides the point. But my point here is that, this is mainly for me. I'm going to map out the levels that I'll be watching that stand out to me, but feel free to disagree. However, I don't know, maybe some of these levels can help you out. But the level here that I've talked about time and time again, for those of you past viewers, has been this 975 mark. And wouldn't you know it, didn't hit it exactly, but pretty darn close for a $900 stock. So pointer being, everybody and their brother's uncle is going to be watching this 975 tomorrow. That's not a great discovery. And yes, there is certainly going to be what I think could be a potential self-fulfilling prophecy behind it, where if this 975 mark does not get hit, I'm not saying it'll necessarily happen tomorrow, but with a break of 975, then I think this 940 area has a very realistic chance of getting potentially tested by the end of the week, although got to remember the markets are closed on Friday. But pointer being is 975 stands out like a sore thumb. There's going to be all sorts of people watching that level, so definitely keep a close eye on that as that main area of support. In terms of areas of resistance, at this point, a couple different ways you could go about it. We could get ourselves a nice little trend line in play like that. But what I'm going to do is actually not going to use the trend line. I'm just going to sit there and use that purple line there, which is that 50-period moving average, to keep an eye from a general resistance standpoint. But like I said, in my mind, it all comes back to the 975 mark. The price is within striking distance. It's a very key level, so I'm very curious to see how the price behaves relative to it on Wednesday. So that wraps up the top 10. Again, if you like what you saw here and you want to learn more about this tool, how it can and should be used to build consistency as a trader, then certainly get signed, like I said, a couple weeks, Thursday, April 21st at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So definitely get signed up for it, and hopefully I'll see you there. As far as these top 10 videos are concerned, if you enjoy this format, if you'd like for me to continue to make more videos like this, putting the time and effort to analyze, to scan, and all that, then please let me know by doing two easy things. Hit the like button, leave a simple comment. But hitting the like button and leaving a basic comment go a long ways in communicating to me that you enjoy. And as long as I know people are enjoying, then I have no problem at all continuing to put in the time and effort required to get this content out to you. So definitely do those two things for you. And if you're interested in learning more about this tool, then certainly get signed up for that class here in a couple weeks. Everybody take care. Have a good one.